Did this surprise you?
No, I mean, this is the most unloved bull market ever, isn't it, Becky?
Sure.
Stocks a very distant second in terms of what people's preferred investment for longer than 10 years would be. Real estate leading the way, and by the biggest margin that we've seen to date. And I think a lot of that deals with the tangible nature of real estate. And also, let's not forget about the 20% drop we saw in the stock market last fall. That rattled a lot of investors as well.
What's been your experience with this, kind of following everything since the financial crisis? Because during the financial crisis, it wasn't just stocks that plummeted. That was kicked off because you actually saw real estate prices drop across the country for about the first time ever, or at least since the Great Depression.
Yes, and the preference for real estate bounced back just as home prices did. But it didn't with stocks. And it was one of those things where every year we would see the S&P was up versus the prior year, but the percentage of people that were looking to stocks, unchanged. So very little movement of the needle. Again, the preference for real estate has always been pretty solid, but I think in recent years you've seen it tracking home prices.
I mean, here's what shocked me. It's millennials that actually are the most attracted to real estate. We talk all the time about how millennials don't want to buy a home. They're different. They don't want to go into any of these situations. But it was the millennials that really led the way in your survey.
Yeah, and that really throws on its ear that notion that they don't want to buy homes. A lot of millennials that aren't buying in their 20s, they're going to buy in their 30s. I think this really drives that home. Millennials had a higher preference for real estate than any other generation. And on the flip side, they had the lowest preference for the stock market of any generation. And that one's particularly troubling when we think in the context of retirement savings, accumulating that nest egg that you're going to need in the future. Millennials, of course, having the highest retirement savings burden that we've yet seen.
Greg, is this a counter indicator by any stretch? I guess what I'm trying to figure out is this, based on what you've seen in the past from these survey results, does it tend to be a leading economic indicator or a lagging one?
This one in particular, not very indicative of market movements. We have seen some other indicators, a lot of like consumer confidence, for example, a lot of that very closely tied to headlines regarding the job market and the stock market. But in terms of preference and where people are putting their money, we just really haven't seen much movement on the stock front. And, real estate has always been pretty solid. It's just picked up more here in recent years.
One of the other interesting results you took away is that the higher a respondent's earnings, the more likely they were to choose stocks as their top investment. What do you think that tells you?
Yeah, and the real break point here was $50,000 a year. If you had income above $50,000 a year, you had a much higher preference, more than twice as likely as those with income below $50,000 to prefer the stock market. Those income below $50,000, those were households that had a much higher preference for cash and even precious metals. I think a lot of that kind of deals with familiarity. Lower income households that maybe don't have that familiarity with the stock market, they're hunkering down in what they perceive to be safe haven investments.